Hey guys, welcome back. So today's going to be a short video, unfortunately, because, well, we're talking about the SCAR 20S and 6.5 Creedmoor. Last year I got my hands on a SCAR 20 that came into copper and we were able to play with it. We got less than optimal accuracy out of it with its really tightened muzzle device on it. We threw an OSS can on it at the last minute and then had to add those results into the very end of the video, which were actually quite impressive. The gun settled down, went from a 1.5 to 2 inch gun to a sub-minute gun consistently. So when we got a 6.5 Creedmoor gun into copper, I was really excited to play around with it. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But if you guys would like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There is a link in the video description below. We primarily fund through Patreon, and that's through your support. You'll get early access to videos like this one. You'll have direct access to me. I answer all private communications, and we have some other perks as well. So again, please click that link to Patreon in the video description below. With that being said, let's get started talking about the SCAR 20S and 6.5 Creedmoor. Blown primer. All right, so there's a live round in there, but I don't want the piece of the primer that's in the primer pocket to fall out. So I'm going to take the gun apart with that live round in there. That way, if it does fall out, we can hopefully capture it. She's in there. Sometimes primers, when they pop, like all of these, which is Winchester and Hornady, when they pop, sometimes the piece that pops out can cause the gun to bind up. That seems to be what's going on here. Get some tools and we'll be right back. If you guys haven't checked out Primary Arms online, please swing by and check out their website. They have all sorts of inventory that ranges from firearms to accessories, really good prices, fast shipping, outstanding customer support. If you use the code MAC and you purchase a PA branded optic or red dot sight with a magnified optic, you'll get a free scope mount with that MAC code. Or if you pick up a red dot sight or a prism sight, you'll get a free kill flash anti-reflective device. So please check out primaryarms.com. So I was just tinkering with it, and I just put the screwdriver in here and pried back on the bolt carrier, and it came out, came loose. Make sure that we can capture. And it's already fallen out. So this is the case we recovered with the popped primer. Usually we'll find it inside here. I'll show you a picture of one we were able to capture. It's back apparently inside here because this should freely travel all the way back to here. So the pop primer is in the firing pin channel. So let's go ahead and see if we can get it out. Firing pin stuck. So yes, the firing pin, the primer that backed out, it just failed to pop free. We should be able to get that piece of primer now out of here. That's a previous pop primer. don't see it in there. Maybe that was the piece that fell out. So we found the culprit. Typically, when the primer fails, a piece of it will get stuck in the firing pin channel, and that will keep it from firing. This time when we took it apart, I didn't find the piece of the primer in the firing pin hole like we typically would find. I looked down inside of the bolt carrier and I saw this shiny mashed piece of metal. And I'll show you a close-up picture of it. And so the bolt inside the carrier and the firing pin, it actually looks like perhaps it came out when I took the gun apart. It looks like it's about the same size as the firing pin, like it was wrapped around the firing pin. And so that is likely why the firing pin did not have the ability to cycle. I just had to bang it out of here, tap it on the table until it dislodged, and that's probably was wrapped around the firing pin somehow, because it certainly looks to have taken on the shape of the firing pin. So this has happened multiple times this afternoon, and I probably could fire another 10 rounds. It's happening frequently. This isn't infrequent. This is like every magazine. It's now doing this. Now, when we first started shooting the gun today, we had no issues. And then we started having the occasional issue, and now it seems to be pretty much every magazine. I get asked all the time, Mac, how can I get involved in the firearms industry? Well, there's no easy answer, but one way you can easily get involved in the firearms industry is to become a certified gunsmith. Modern Gun School has been teaching gunsmiths since 1945. It is an accredited college, and also if you're a veteran and have a GI Bill, you can use that to enroll at Modern Gun School. So please swing by and check them out. I have a link in the video description below. I did find that there was one other person that had posted something online. He was holding a handful of spent cases that all had the primers popped, and it was happening with his 6.5 Creedmoor SCAR 20. With the SCAR 20 and 308, I've never seen a propped primer. We've been shooting this thing all day today, and we've been seeing propped primers all day today with 3 different types of ammo. Actually, maybe 4. Winchester, Hornady, Norma, and even Federal. So 4 different types of ammunition we've managed to pop a primer with. So it's definitely the gun, and it's not ammo related. Well, that's the first malfunction of the day. Just add it to the list of frustrations. Well, it's probably because the primer backed out. Oh boy. When a primer fails like that, when it's punctured, the piece that comes back out of the primer can work itself into many different places within the mechanism of the firearm. Usually we were seeing problems where that primer piece would back into the very tip of the firing pin channel and just would cause a light primer strike, and the gun wouldn't fire till we took it apart, knocked that little piece out, and resumed shooting. We've been having even more occurrences where parts of those primers are getting back into the firing pin channel and getting mashed around the firing pin itself, and I can show you a picture of that. And that was causing some pretty interesting failures. Then we just had a failure again where the gun it cycled, it ejected the spent case, the primer was punctured, went to chamber the next round but failed to chamber. The bolt wasn't freely turning, so it couldn't go completely into battery. That presented a unique problem with the non-reciprocating charging handle version of this gun. Because the bolt and carrier were locked together with the non-reciprocating charging handle sled, we couldn't pull the bolt and carrier completely free of the mechanism. We didn't have the tools to get it to release. Typically, you would just reach in there with your finger with the bolt and carrier already out, push on a little spring-loaded lever, and it would slide out. But when they're locked together, the bolt carrier is protecting that piece you can push down with the end of your finger. I tried prying at it with a screwdriver. I just couldn't get it to release, so we literally had to take the bolt and carrier apart to clear the malfunction with it hanging out of the rear of the gun because I simply couldn't get the bolt carrier out of the gun. Big problem. That is a concerning issue if you have such a failure in the field with a weapon like this, the SCAR 20 or even the SCAR 17. That could become a bigger issue. So we finally cleared all that. Now we're going to shoot a little bit more ammunition with the gun. But yeah, it just seems like it's getting more weird the more we shoot it, the types of malfunctions we're encountering because of those primers failing over and over again, being punctured by the SCAR 20's firing pin. This is Winchester. Oh my goodness. We got through 5 rounds of ammunition without a primer completely jamming the gun up. Interesting. Today is day 2. We had so many problems with the SCAR 20 and 6.5 Creedmoor that we thought, okay, maybe we didn't test all of the different options. I went back to copper and went into Definitive Arms. Chase has all the proper tools to measure things like pinhole diameter, to measure firing pin protrusion, to measure every aspect of the bolt and various components of the gun, and then compare that to other guns we know that work, not in 6.5 Creedmoor, but in 308. The 6.5 Creedmoor uses the same bolt as the 308 SCAR. So everything checked out, everything measured within spec. It seemed like it should work. We couldn't figure out why the gun was puncturing primers. So we thought, well, let's clean her all up, go back out. We'll take a 308 rifle with us that Copper had in stock. So here's its 308 counterpart. And if we continue to run into problems with the 6.5 Creedmoor, we would just borrow the bolt out of that gun to fire a few rounds and see if we still punctured primers. We still punctured primers. It doesn't matter what bolt we put in this gun, either one from a different SCAR or its original bolt that it shipped with, it's puncturing primers. This is all the ammunition that we've tried out here this afternoon. And some of it would have punctures every other round, some of it would have it every 5th round. And we were thinking pressure curves, things like that might be causing the problem. The headspace checked out. We did check the headspace on the gun. It was fine. So it has to have maybe something to do with the pressures of the 6.5 Creedmoor and the locking mechanism that the SCAR has, which is a little bit unique. It has quite a duration in there when the gun unlocks, where the firing pin backs out enough where the primer hole in the bolt face is exposed for a considerable distance, and then it starts to unlock the bolt and come back. Perhaps that's the issue. What I find interesting is, based upon our testing, I don't think we're the only people. As a matter of fact, I did find one other post on the internet with somebody having the exact same issue. There has to be something fundamentally wrong with the design of the gun and the 6.5 Creedmoor. The 308 guns run absolutely flawless, but as you can see from all these punctured primers, we've done as much testing as we possibly can, right down to tearing the guns apart and measuring everything we possibly could to see if there was anything glaring, and there was nothing glaring. The gun just pops primers. It's really a disappointment. The SCAR 20 that we featured in the original video in 308, the flat dark earth gun, fell in love with that thing. Absolutely amazing. It had accuracy issues in the beginning. We put a OSS silencer on it. The thing settled down to be a sub-minute gun consistently, one of my favorite gas guns to shoot. I had high hopes for the 6.5 Creedmoor because, just generally speaking, the 6.5 Creedmoor generally has better accuracy. Not always, but just in my experience with bolt guns and things like that. Major disappointment. FN definitely needs to take a look at this, and the gun will go back to FN. I'm hoping they don't just fire 5 rounds of some hard-primed military stuff, if such a thing exists in 6.5 Creedmoor, and send it back and say there's nothing wrong with it. There's clearly something wrong with it, and we've well documented it. And that brings me up to another point. Perhaps it's because we are shooting match ammunition out of the 6.5 Creedmoor. This thing is designed completely. I mean, every internal component except for the barrel on this gun is identical to the 308 version, and this thing is set up to fire 7.62 by 51 NATO. Harder primed ammunition, military type ammunition. Match ammunition many times will have, the primers will be much easier to ignite, and perhaps that's why this gun is puncturing the primers on that match ammunition. Pure speculation. All I know is the gun's fundamentally flawed in my opinion, and it needs to be addressed by FN because you're going to use this gun to shoot match ammunition. If you have a 6.5 Creedmoor SCAR 20 and yours is running fine for you, and I'm sure there are some out there perhaps, please comment down below. Tell me what your experiences are, because I only have a sample set of one here, but we've done everything we can to try to figure out what might be going on. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. We're not supported by FN or anything like that, so we can say whatever we want and bring you honest information, and we can do that because of Patreon. There's a link in the video description below. Also, if you'd like to support us right here on YouTube, mash that join button underneath the video player you're watching right now, either on a computer or on a mobile device. And last but not least, guys, please swing by, check out coppercustom.com, who allowed us to use these rifles for our testing. And thank you for 14 years of support. We'll talk to you guys soon.